The unthinkable attacked hospital ship Mercy Star moved slowly through neutral space. It was one of the oldest and most respected vessels in the galaxy, white hull shining clean, medical symbols glowing on all sides, massive red crosses clear to any ship or satellite that might see it. The Mercy Star was a beacon of hope for wounded soldiers and refugees from all species. It carried no weapons, only doctors, nurses, and volunteers who had dedicated their lives to saving others inside the ship. Things were calm. Nurses moved between patients, medbots checked vital signs. Soft music played in the background. It was supposed to be a routine journey back to Earth. After evacuating hundreds from a recent war zone, Captain Alira looked out the bridge window. She had seen war up close. She had treated dying soldiers from every corner of the galaxy. But here on the Mercy Star she felt peace. She turned to her crew and smiled. "Today we bring them home," she said quietly. The crew nodded. The bridge was peaceful until the first alarm scream. Unidentified ships incoming, the AI announced, its voice tense and fast. Alira's smile vanished. Her hands moved quickly over the console. "Identify them," she ordered. "No weapons here. Raise shields only for impact." Shockwaves hit the ship moments later. The Mercy Star rocked under the force of sudden impact. Another explosion ripped through the lower hull. Systems shut down one by one. Corridors lit up in red emergency lights. The smell of smoke filled the air. "They're firing on us," a young ensign shouted. "But we're a hospital ship." The words didn't matter. Reality struck like a blade. The Mercy Star was under attack. Alira stumbled down the hallway trying to reach the medical bay. People screamed. Alarms blared. Ceiling panels collapsed. Sparks rained down. Wounded patients were crying out for help, and staff were trying to carry them to safety. Many were children in the medbay. Nurse Rhea covered a small alien child with her own body as fire burst through a nearby wall. Debris fell everywhere. She didn't think, only acted. She pulled the child and others into a safe chamber and slammed it shut behind them. Her hands trembled. Her mind raced. This wasn't a battle. This was slaughter. Attackers were the Vordax Dominion, a species known for their ruthless military style. But even they had never targeted a medical ship before. This act was beyond war. It was a crime against every law, every treaty, every shred of decency in the stars. The Vordax fleet showed no mercy. They bombarded the ship again and again, knowing it had no defenses. They did not care. They wanted to send a message. In the bridge, Alira sent a final broadcast. She stood tall, bleeding from a wound near her eye. "This is Captain Alira of the Mercy Star. We are under unprovoked attack. This is a hospital vessel. We carry civilians and wounded soldiers. We have no weapons. Repeat, we are a medical ship. We are dying. Please remember us." Her voice cracked, but she kept going. "Please tell Earth what happened." Her broadcast was picked up by a passing freighter, who recorded the entire transmission and sent it through emergency relays. Earth received the message within minutes, and the footage went viral across all colonies and stations. The people of Earth watched in horror as the images played. Ships without weapons being torn apart by plasma fire, nurses cradling dying patients, children screaming in fear as explosions shook the walls. It was too much for anyone to bear. Back on the Mercy Star, the last of the power faded. The ship broke apart piece by piece in space. Those who made it to escape pods floated in silence, their beacons blinking weakly among the wreckage. Some were unconscious, some already dead, but a few, like Rhea, held on, teeth clenched, eyes full of tears. Rhea stared at the stars through a cracked window glass floating above her like tiny diamonds. Her lips moved slowly, whispering names of her friends who were gone, her patients, her captain. She had seen the worst of war, but this was something else. This was not just cruelty. It was something colder. It was evil, and she knew with every beat of her heart Earth would not ignore this. Final image the galaxy saw was the ship's hull cracking open, red crosses shredded and drifting in the void. No one watching could forget it. The Mercy Star became a symbol not of healing anymore, but of betrayal, of innocence destroyed, of a line crossed. Deferent Earth remembered Earth, burned the image into its memory, and the fire that lit in every human heart was not one of sorrow alone. It was Furion. That fury was about to awaken, the wrath of a species known for holding peace as sacred. But when peace is shattered, when kindness is mistaken for weakness, then even the most patient hearts can become the most unstoppable storm. This was not the end. It was the beginning of something far more terrifying for those who dared harm the innocent fairy in the blood. The message of the Mercy Star massacre spread like a wildfire through every human system. It reached spaceports, colonies, military outposts, even deep mining rigs. At the edge of explored space, people dropped tools and stood frozen, staring at the footage over and over. They watched red crosses torn apart, nurses screaming in panic, patients crushed under wreckage, children burned alive. No matter how many times they replayed the broadcast, the reaction was the same: shock, silence, and then fury that burned hotter. than any sun in the cities. People gathered in the streets holding candles in mourning. But the silence did not last long. It was broken by cries for justice. Families who had lost sons and daughters on that ship screamed into the night demanding answers. The networks couldn't keep up with the interviews. Every channel showed the same faces: broken mothers, fathers trying not to cry, children asking when their big brother was coming home. The words of Captain Alira repeated on every screen. "This is a hospital vessel. We carry civilians and wounded soldiers. We have no weapons." Those words became a call to arms inside Earth's unified military command. The silence in the war room was heavy. Admiral Tanaka stood at the center, his face stone cold. The generals around him watched the footage one more time, and when it ended, he turned to his officers, his voice sharp and clear. They were warned. He said, "They knew we were peaceful. They knew that was a hospital ship. They attacked anyway. They will answer for this." One by one, volunteers flooded every recruitment center across Earth and its colonies, even in peaceful cities where people had never held a weapon before. Thousands lined up in silence, not out of glory, not for revenge, but because they knew this was not just an attack. It was a violation of everything humanity stood for. In orbit, the fleet yards buzzed with energy. Engineers worked day and night. Warships that had been docked for years were awakened. Reactors fired up. Weapons systems checked and triple-checked. Drones carried ammunition into waiting holds. Ice systems calculated supply chains and fleet formations within hours. Task Force Vengeance was assembled, not a fleet for war, but a fleet for justice. This was not a random attack. The analysts confirmed the attackers were ships from the Vordax Dominion, and the Vordax government released a cold statement denying responsibility. They claimed it was a rogue admiral, not an official act, but Earth had seen this playbook before, and no one believed the lie. They had tried to wash their hands clean, but the blood still clung to them, the blood of healers and the wounded, and those who had never picked up a gun in their life. Meanwhile, far from Earth, drifting near a barren moon, a signal blinked weak and unnoticed for hours, until a patrol ship picked it up and changed everything. It was a life pod, a single beacon. Barely alive inside was Nurse Rhea, broken body, bruised but breathing. She had survived. Patrol ship's crew rushed to bring her aboard. Doctors treated her wounds as fast as possible, but the real damage was inside her mind. The memories wouldn't stop flashing through her eyes as she lay in the medical bay, pain mixed with rage. Every breath she took was a reminder of those who didn't make it. When she finally opened her eyes and saw the Earth flag on the wall, she cried, not from fear or pain, but because she had made it. And now she could speak for those who couldn't. She asked to send a message, not a speech, not a plea, just a vow. She whispered into the camera, "To all who watched, I will remember their names, and Earth will make sure you never forget them." Her message reached every soldier preparing for battle, every mechanic tightening bolts on warships, every AI calculating strategies. It was not long or loud, but it was powerful, the voice of the wounded, promising that the dead would not be forgotten. Admiral Tanaka stood at the helm of the flagship, Aegis Dawn, watching the stars as the fleet formed behind him. He knew what was coming would not be easy. War never was. But this was not conquest. They were not marching for land or power. They were marching because someone had to draw the line and hold it. Because if the galaxy could not protect a hospital ship, then what was left worth protecting? He raised a glass of water, not wine, not spirits, just water, clear and clean, the symbol of life. He spoke only to his officers, but his words would echo in history. They took lives that should have been saved. They made war on mercy. They believed we would stay silent. Let us show them they were wrong. The fleet engines lit up at once. Stars shimmered with energy, and humanity moved not as conquerors, not as invaders, but as the storm that follows the betrayal of peace. They did not come in wrath alone, but with a purpose so sharp it cut through fear to make sure the galaxy understood one thing clearly: you do not fire on the Mercy Star and walk away. The last warning. Silence before war is never truly silent, and in the darkness between stars, the weight of Earth's fury hung heavy. Every sensor array, every listening post, every alien outpost near Vordax space began to detect strange signals, formations of unknown ships, dozens then hundreds, broadcasting only one thing: a warning signal written in every known galactic language, including the old diplomatic codes used only in dire circumstances. This is Earth United Command. Surrender the war criminals who attacked our hospital vessel Mercy Star, or prepare for full retaliation. Inside the Vordax High Command chambers, laughter filled the air. The warlords sat in tall thrones surrounded by guards and advisors. Their leader, Arch-Warlord Krinther, waved away the warning like smoke from a dying fire. His fangs glinted under the artificial lights. Weaklings hiding behind medicine and peace, he growled. Earth has always been too soft, too bound by morals. To be a threat. One of his generals leaned forward. Perhaps we should respond more carefully. They did not send empty threats, they come with force. Gunther slammed his clawed fist onto the stone table. Cowards, he snapped. They are emotional beings guided by grief. Let them come. They will break like every empire before them. We are Vordax. We do not bow. They sent their reply to Earth not as a formal statement, but as a mocking broadcast, a twisted parody of Earth's original message filled with images of destroyed human ships, edited footage made to humiliate the fallen, and a final message written in blood-red glyphs. If you send more hospital ships, we will burn them before they leave your orbit. It was the moment the galaxy held its breath. The message was played live across thousands of space stations, and neutral planets' ambassadors watched in stunned silence. The Vordax had not only denied the attack, they had celebrated it. Humanity had extended a single chance for peace, and it had been spat on back on Earth. The response was immediate. Admiral Tanaka stepped into the War Council chamber wearing his full dress uniform. Behind him stood every major general of the Earth United Forces. His voice did not shake, he did not yell. He simply said, the deadline has passed. We move now. The massive fleet of Task Force Vengeance began its final launch preparations. Hundreds of ships lined up in perfect formation, each one assigned a purpose, from assault cruisers to shield carriers to long-range command vessels. The largest ship, the Aegis Dawn, would lead the charge, its hull engraved with the names of every soul lost aboard the Mercy Star and the medbay aboard. The Aegis Dawn nurse Rhea sat upright for the first time since her rescue, healing, but not whole. Her body bore scars, her mind bore more. She watched the final transmission from the Vordax over and over, studying every sneer, every insult, until her hands clenched into fists. She turned to her attending physician and asked one simple question: will they make them pay? The doctor did not answer with words. Instead, he handed her a communicator already tuned to the fleet-wide channel. Rhea hesitated, then pressed the button and spoke. This is Rhea, survivor of the Mercy Star. I saw children die screaming. I saw doctors cut down while helping the enemy. I saw honor burned in the cold of space. And now I see you. I see your ships. I see the fire in your hearts. You are not just soldiers. You are the line the galaxy forgot. We need a Dacrys, the fleet. Her message played, and in every ship crew members paused and listened. It was not the words of a general. It was not a command or strategy. It was a voice from the fire, a reason beyond revenge, a purpose beyond order. Humanity was not launching an invasion. It was bringing balance back to a galaxy that had forgotten the meaning of mercies. The fleet surged into faster-than-light travel systems, blinked awake, targeting data, loaded weapons charged, and shields activated with precision. The jump into Vordax space was not chaotic. It was calculated, every movement timed, every vector set. There would be no wild assault, no desperate charge. This was retribution by design. Meanwhile, the Vordax prepared their defenses, believing they faced a blunt attack of rage and firepower. But Earth did not come to scream. It came to dismantle. The first target was not a city, it was a communications relay. Orbiting a small moon, the relay blinked once, twice, then went silent. It had been disabled without a single life lost. Next was a fuel depot, carefully drained and detonated remotely. Before any retaliation could be organized, supply lines severed, energy chains disrupted. Then came the defense grid of the outer Vordax fleet, a wall of ships waiting for battle. But Earth did not attack head-on. Instead, drones slipped behind their lines. EMP pulses fired in sequence. Ships were not destroyed, but shut down, left floating powerless. Confusion spread through the Vordax command structure. As systems failed all around them, their warlords screamed into dead channels. Their orders vanished in static, and then the message came again. This is Earth United. Command, you were warned. You chose this path. We do not seek conquest. We seek justice. For the first time in generations, the Vordax knew fear not of death, but of something deeper, the realization that their enemy had not come to fight them like beasts, but to break them like tyrants. To show the stars what happens when peace is murdered. And this was only the beginning. Flames of vengeance seethed. Vordax defense line drifted helplessly in the void as their warships flickered with power loss. Lights dimmed, engines sputtered, and control systems refused to obey. Crews slammed their fists against frozen controls, shouting in panic as AI cores went silent. Earth had not come to fight blindly. It had come to shut down everything the enemy trusted. Earth's technology was not just powerful, it was terrifying in precision, and the fleet did not stop. It moved like a shadow through the edge of Vordax territory, not wasting fire, not wasting time. On board the Aegis Dawn, Admiral Tanaka stood tall before the tactical display. His eyes scanned every point of data as his commanders updated positions, targets, and movement. The Vordax tried to regroup at several locations, forming hasty strike teams and defensive bastions, but Earth anticipated each move before it happened and reacted with clean, swift strikes. Task Force Vengeance was not just a hammer. It was a skull-healthy time came to target the destroyer fleet that had fired on the Mercy Star. 3 vessels marked in every log, 3 captains named. In every intercepted communication, the same warships seen in the last footage. Before the hospital ship exploded, those were not random ships, they were handpicked executioners. Earth knew them by name now, and the galaxy watched as justice unfolded at the edge of the Elden Belt. The 3 Vordax destroyers waited, proud and still cloaked in arrogance. The captains broadcast taunts to the human fleet, daring them to attack. But they underestimated what was coming. Garth sent a warning shot, a single kinetic lance that pierced the nearest moon like butter, cracking its surface and sending shockwaves across the system. It was not meant to kill, but to speak in silence. And still the destroyers fired first. Their arrogance remained. A moment later, the Aegis Dawn returned fire, but not with bombs, not with chaos, instead with pinpoint railgun bursts that targeted engines, bridge cores, and life support backups within 10 seconds. All 3 destroyers were disabled, not destroyed. Their weapons shut down, systems dead, shields down. They floated in space, vulnerable, exposed, unable to even move. With broadcast began immediately across the galaxy. Screens lit up with the sight of Earth's fleet surrounding the warships that had killed healers and children. The human fleet commander's voice echoed across the void. You have committed war crimes. You are under arrest. Surrender your ships and face judgment, or be dismantled piece by piece. The Vordax captains cursed and spat, but their ships gave no answer. They had no more weapons, no more tricks. And then Earth did something no one expected. They did not fire again. Instead, specialized boarding vessels launched from the fleet, landing precisely on the enemy hull. Soldiers in powered armor moved with trained grace, storming the corridors, not to slaughter, but to capture. Inside the command decks, the Vordax crews resisted briefly, but resistance failed against exosuits built for speed and strength. Stun rounds, non-lethal darts, EMP pulses, every tactic designed to subdue, not destroy, was used. Within minutes, the bridges were taken, and the captains restrained Olivia. Across the stars, people watched as the screens showed the arrest, not the execution of the Atticus. Humanity was not here to burn, it was here to reveal a truth: that strength can have control, that vengeance can carry purpose. In the medical bay of the Aegis Dawn, Nurse Rhea saw the footage live, her breath caught as the camera zoomed in on the face of one of the captured Vordax, the same face she had seen through a cracked corridor window during the Mercy Star attack. The same cruel smile, now replaced with confusion and fear. She whispered under her breath, "You remember me? I hope you do, because I will never forget." Fleet moved again, this time deeper toward Vordax space, but always with the same cold precision. The next target was a massive war factory hidden beneath the crust of a metal-rich asteroid. Intelligence had located it years ago, but never acted. Now it became the next symbol of cruelty, turned to rubble instead of sending in bombers. The human fleet sent in drill pods, burrowing deep before activating seismic charges. The entire facility collapsed inward. Not a single worker died, because Earth had sent warnings first. Enough time for evacuation. Every camera caught the collapse, and every star system watched the stone and fire spiral into the void. Galaxy began to whisper. The humans were angry, but they were not monsters. They fought like gods of war, but struck like Jiji-7. The Vordax civilians began to question everything they had been told about Earth. For generations they had been taught humans were weak, emotional, naive. Now they watched as Earth brought fleets that tore down war engines without touching a single home. Admiral Tanaka gathered his officers after the final strike of the day. "We are not done," he said. "We will take the factory, the fleet, and soon their pride. But remember this, our power means nothing if we do not carry our purpose. We do not conquer, we correct." Crew saluted, knowing their mission was far from over. And somewhere in a secure chamber, the arrested Vordax captains were shown footage of the Mercy Star again and again, until even their silence broke. Fear spreads, and the stars news of Earth's precise and restrained assault on the Vordax dominion rippled across the galaxy faster than any missile. The footage showed ships once feared for their brutal tactics now floating powerless in the void, their crews captured alive. A mercy no one expected from the humans. The words of Nurse Rhea echoed across hundreds of systems, her voice soft yet strong, telling of the children who died on the Mercy Star, of the healers lost in cold space, of the betrayal that had shattered peace. And now the galaxy listened for the first time to a story of pain. Not just power. And distant Star Council's ambassadors debated fervently, some sympathetic to the humans, others still wary, but all could not deny the change in balance. The Vordax homeworld had begun mass evacuations, families boarding transports, fleeing the rising storm. The once invincible warlords found themselves scrambling to protect their own lives as their defenses crumbled under Earth's careful striking. The streets of the Vordax capital, panic spread like wildfire. Markets Emptied public broadcasts cut off rumors of Earth's fleet. Circling the system whispered by terrified citizens. There were no celebrations, only fear, a feeling unknown to many among the proud warriors, who had long believed themselves invincible. Inside Earth's fleet the mood was somber yet determined. Sailors and soldiers trained and prepared for every possible encounter, but never lost sight of their purpose. They were here not to conquer, but to uphold a law older than any empire, a law that protected the innocent and punished the guilty. Nurse Ria's testimony was scheduled to be broadcast across the neutral sector, and even on Vordax systems to show the truth of what had happened aboard the Mercy Star. The story of the wounded and the dying, the faces of those who had once only been numbers. On battle reports were given names and voices. Humanity did not hide its scars, it displayed them. As proof of why justice must be served, the broadcast was met with silence, and then whispers. Many Vordax civilians saw the images for the first time, and began questioning the war leaders who had lied and hidden the truth. It sparked unrest in the Dominion, a crack in the once impenetrable facade of strength and control. Meanwhile, Vordax commanders sent desperate messages begging for ceasefires and negotiations, but Earth responded with a clear message: justice would not be rushed, but it would be served fully. The survivors of the Mercy Star had given their lives for peace, and now Earth would honor them with every step taken in the Vordax systems. As the fleet moved closer to the capital, planetary defenses were weakened, but still formidable. Earth's strategy was to disable, not destroy, cutting power grids, communications, and weapon depots with surgical strikes. Ships that resisted were disabled, not annihilated. Prisoners taken wherever possible. Humanity showed a cold discipline that shocked many across the stars. Among the captives held aboard the Aegis Dawn, the captured Vordax began to speak of fear, the first they had felt in their lives, of questions about their leaders and the war they had been ordered to fight. Some expressed regret, others anger, but all faced the reality of their defeat with quiet resignation. The galaxy watched as the balance of power shifted, not by brute force, but by unwavering resolve and moral strength. Earth had set a new standard in war, a reminder that even in the darkest times mercy and justice could still prevail, and that cruelty would never go unanswered. Aboard the Aegis Dawn, Nurse Ria prepared for her testimony, a chance to give voice to the silent and to remind the galaxy what had been lost and what must never be allowed to happen again. Her words would become a beacon, not just for humans but for every being who sought peace in a violent universe. The fall of the cruel Vordax leadership was desperate. Their once proud capital now faced the encroaching force of Earth's fleet. Precision strikes had disabled most of their outer defenses. The hum of active weapons had grown silent, their cities shrouded in dim emergency lights as power grids flickered on and off. Panic spread among the warlords who had led the charge to destroy the Mercy Star. Now they faced the reckoning they had long ignored. Admiral Tanaka stood on the bridge of the Aegis Dawn, overseeing the final phase of the campaign. His voice steady, his commands clear. Humanity's patience was not infinite, but neither was it reckless. The goal was justice, not destruction. Every strike was measured, every move calculated. The fleet disabled planetary shields with electromagnetic pulses, rendering the Vordax vulnerable, and the ground forces ready to land. Troops clad in adaptive armor descended from drop ships like shadows into the heart of the enemy city, their mission to capture, not kill, to bring the warlords to trial, and to end the cycle of violence that had plagued the galaxy for centuries. Earth soldiers moved swiftly through the streets, avoiding civilian areas, using advanced scanning technology to locate targets. The Vordax fighters who remained were overwhelmed by the combination of superior tactics, technology, and the determination of those fighting for justice. The mastermind behind the attack on the Mercy Star was finally cornered in a fortified bunker deep beneath the capital. The warlord known as Chrysler had ordered the hospital ship fired upon, believing it would break Earth's spirit. Instead, he broke his own when the human forces breached his defenses and took him alive. The warlord spat defiance, but the human general in charge simply replied, "We do not kill our prisoners. You will live to face justice." And news of the capture spread quickly across the galaxy. The trial of Chrysler and other war criminals was to be held in neutral space under the supervision of an interspecies tribunal, a historic event that marked the beginning of a new era. The evidence against them was overwhelming, from intercepted communications to testimonies from survivors and the captured warlords themselves. Every charge was documented and presented with cold precision. The trial was broadcast live to billions across many worlds. The faces of the accused shone alongside the stories of the victims. The voice of Nurse Ria was heard again, recounting the horrors aboard the Mercy Star, her words cutting through propaganda and lies, exposing the truth of war crimes. Committed without remorse, the tribunal's verdict was swift and unanimous: guilty life sentences, without parole in high-security space prisons designed to hold the most dangerous criminals. But the message was greater than punishment. It was a statement to the galaxy that war had limits, that mercy was not weakness, and that humanity would stand as a guardian of those limits, no matter the cost. The verdict brought hope to many and fear to those who might think to repeat such acts back on Earth. The rebuilding of the Mercy Star began. Plans for a new and improved hospital ship were drawn up, a symbol of resilience and peace. Larger, faster, and equipped with state-of-the-art medical technology, it would serve as a beacon across the stars, reminding all that healing would always follow even the darkest violent centers. Rhea was chosen to captain the new ship, a role she accepted with honor and solemn responsibility. Her journey from the wounded survivor to leader was a testament to human strength and compassion. She vowed to carry the message of the Mercy Star into the future, to protect the innocent, and to remind the galaxy that peace required vigilance and courage. The galaxy watched as Earth did not celebrate with fanfare or conquest, but with quiet dignity and resolve. The war was over, but its lessons remained etched in every system. The boundaries of war had been redrawn, and humanity stood firm as both warrior and healer, a paradox that confounded allies and enemies alike, but one that ensured the stars would never forget. A galaxy forever changed. The trial of the Vordax war criminals had ended, but the echoes of its impact resonated throughout the galaxy. Many species watched with a mixture of hope and apprehension. Humanity's actions had rewritten the rules of war and diplomacy. The image of Earth, not as a conquering empire, but as a fierce protector of justice, was now clear to all across neutral space. The interspecies tribunal continued its work, not just punishing crimes but establishing new treaties and protections for medical vessels and civilians. War was a dark shadow, but the light of accountability now shone brighter than ever before on Earth. The new hospital ship Mercy Star 2 was nearing completion. Its sleek design symbolized a new era, built to heal and protect the innocent. It was equipped with advanced shields and faster engines, yet it carried no weapons, a reminder that peace was its only mission. Captain Rhea stood on the bridge of the new ship, her eyes scanning the stars that had witnessed so much pain and fury. She thought of those who had perished and those who had survived. Their courage gave her strength. Her vow was unbroken: the Mercy Star 2 would carry their legacy across the stars, offering aid to all who needed it without prejudice or fear. The galaxy had learned a lesson, not just about war, but about humanity's unique strength, the ability to balance compassion with power, to fight fiercely, but with honor, to protect the weak but never tolerate cruelty. This paradox made Earth a new kind of power, not a conqueror, but a guardian of force that demanded respect and caution from all who shared the stars. In Vordax space, the scars of defeat were deep, but the future uncertain. Whispers of reform began to circulate. Some warlords questioned their past choices and the brutality that had brought ruin. Others sought exile or peace talks with Earth. The old ways were fading, and a new path had to be found, one that could survive the relentless light of justice. And countless worlds, allies and enemies alike, watched and wondered what this new era meant for their own futures. The story of the Mercy Star had become a symbol not of weakness, but of the strength found in mercy. The galaxy had witnessed the awakening of a force that would not be easily broken or ignored. The legacy of the Mercy Star and the fleet of vengeance was written into the stars, a warning to any who would dare to harm the innocent, and a promise that peace would always have fierce defenders. Humanity had proven that sometimes the greatest strength comes not from destruction, but from the courage to protect and the will to seek justice no matter the cost. And so the stars grew quieter. In some places the war ended, but the vigilance remained. The Mercy Star 2 sailed proudly through the void, a shining beacon for all who looked to the future, a future where mercy and strength walked hand in hand, and Earth's fury was never forgotten. The dawn of a new era. Mercy Star 2 glided silently through the vastness of space, its white hull gleaming against the backdrop of distant stars. Captain Rhea stood on the bridge, her gaze steady and calm. She felt the weight of history on her shoulders and the hope of countless souls who believed in peace and justice. Every mission was a reminder that the past could not be forgotten, but the future could be shaped by those brave enough to protect it. Across the galaxy, the scars of war began to heal. The Vordax Dominion faced difficult choices, their society torn between old traditions and the promise of change. Earth's decisive but measured response had not just ended a war, it had sparked a transformation and movement toward accountability, respect, and coexistence. Nations and species that once watched from the sidelines now stepped forward to join new alliances built on the principles demonstrated by humanity. That strength was meaningless without honor, that power demanded responsibility, and that mercy was the greatest weapon of all stars. No longer held the same fears for those who sought refuge and aid the Mercy Star too, and her crew became legends, traveling from system to system, delivering hope, healing wounds, and reminding all that even in the darkest corners of space, light could prevail. Captain Rhea often thought back to the moments before the Mercy Star was destroyed, to the faces of those lost and to the promise she had whispered in the silence of her escape pod. That promise had become a mission, a legacy, and a symbol for a galaxy learning to balance strength with compassion in every broadcast, in every council, and in the quiet whispers of the stars. The story was told. A new humanity had faced cruelty with courage, met hate with justice, and had shown that peace was worth fighting for fiercely and without compromise. The galaxy was forever changed, not just by the battles fought, but by the ideals upheld. The Mercy Star was no longer just a ship, it was a beacon, a warning, and a hope that would guide future generations toward a better tomorrow. And as the Mercy Star sailed onward into the unknown, Captain Rhea and her crew knew their journey was just beginning, a journey to protect the innocent, to stand firm against injustice, and to carry the flame of mercy across the endless night. And